Yay, we are live, live, live. Okay, got my notes here. Okay, so I have an important topic today on this Sunday afternoon. Raise your hand if you think that swatching is a boring chore that you have to do before you get to do the fun stuff. You're not alone. I used to think that. And the reason we hate swatching somehow we think of it as a waste of time. But I'm here to help challenge you to adjust your mindset about that a little bit. I'm Suzi Quillen. I'm on a mission to help stitchers, knitters, and crocheters achieve confident, joyful stitching. And I want to change your mind today about swatching, and I'm going to share three simple ideas and mindsets to help you see it a little bit different. And stay with me to the end because I have a special announcement that I'm very excited about. So let's talk about swatching. First of all, think about swatching like dating. You and your yarn are getting to know each other with your knitting needles and your crochet hooks, with your stitches, with your own personal stitching ergonomics. And I want you to think a little bit about your personal stitching style, the way that you think about handwriting. We all have different handwriting, and there's people who analyze handwriting and can identify one person's handwriting from another. Like our fingerprints, there's a uniqueness, there's a universality, but there's also a uniqueness that we each bring to it. And that happens with our stitching as well. And understanding how all that plays together for you is going to empower you with your stitching. So please forgive me if I'm kind of darting my eyes around a little bit here. I have some notes that I am trying to make sure that I cover my points. So there are three parts. Really, I'm going to say there's four. There's four key components that are happening in the fabric that you are creating. It's your yarn, it's your tools, it's the stitches, and it's you. And so understanding each of the uniqueness of each of those four elements is going to help you understand how they play together. And I'm not going to talk so much in here about how to swatch. This video, really, I want to talk to you more about why to swatch. And it's really to create a fabric, to check that the fabric that you're making actually is being created, that what you're making is what you're hoping for. And if it's not quite what you're hoping for, how can you adjust it? And the how you can adjust it part comes from the more that you know and understand about your unique way of stitching with different yarns and different knitting needles or crochet hooks. And the specifics and details about that really can go in a different video. This one really is about taking away those thoughts that we have that swatching is just a horrible, tedious, useless waste of time and fabric, blah, blah, before we get to start the fun thing. But I want you to think about it in some of these ways. Experiment with it, play with it, get to know your fabric. Some people will save their swatches and they make notes. And this is particularly helpful, I think, if you have If you have a certain type of yarn, a brand of yarn that you use a lot, I think having these little swatches of different ways that you make fabric with this yarn is going to create a library of information. And the more that you understand your library of information about this fabric that you create, the less tedious swatching becomes. There's a couple of yarns that I use so frequently and so regularly that my swatching doesn't have to be so big and it doesn't have to be so detailed because I understand my relationship with that yarn. And I want that for you too. I don't want you to be afraid of it. I want you to feel like you're making friends. But then there's that part where we think it's a waste of yarn. And it really isn't a waste of yarn when you think about it as that experiment where you are experimenting, you're collecting data, and you're putting it in some kind of a data library. Maybe that data library is in your head, and maybe that data library is that you're saving your swatches and you've made some kind of a journal out of it, like a literal journal, and you staple it in and you write notes, or maybe it's a 3-ring binder with plastic sleeves and you put all the things and some notes and some labels and things in there. Whatever it is for you, it's not a waste because you're learning something. Learning something is never a waste. But if you've got a swatch and you've made it and you've cut your yarn because maybe you needed to wash and block it to really understand how it was going to impact your project, now what do you do with it? Again, some people will use that and hold on to it to make a data library so that they're building that inventory of knowledge about their relationship with certain yarns. But maybe you want to make a practice of creating swatches that are all the same size, the same square shape. And then over time, you start connecting them together to make a scarf and into a shawl that becomes a blanket. And I'm probably going to sneeze. Sorry if that happens. Um, So that's kind of a fun way to go. Depending on the fiber that your swatch is made out of, maybe you're making a mug rug to sit on your desk. You can, if you're making a sweater, if you're swatching for a sweater, consider the idea of your swatches being elbow patches. That's can be kind of fun, or maybe for a pocket. If your sweater has a pocket, like a patch pocket, that can be your swatch right there. And that is a really great place to do that. So there are some useful ways that you can use a swatch when you're done with it. Let's take a look here. So we're going to talk about getting to know your fabric. What I want you to think about with your fabric that you've created your swatch, and we're going to use this sample right here. This is part of a fingerless knit that I started. I started this very specifically for the swatch. And what are you learning about this fabric? How does this yarn with this crochet hook or knitting needle, and this is crochet, but how is that working up? Do you like it? Is it stiff or is it too loose and floppy? Does it have a lot of holes in it that it's just making it too open? By understanding your ergonomics and the tools that you use, you can make adjustments in this fabric. Uh, learning how to make your stitch height more consistent, whether it's taller or shorter, learning how to choose a hook and a yarn together that makes a fabric that you like is so powerful. And you learn that by practicing with swatches. This really is the way that you are going to know that all of the hard work that you're about ready to set into, maybe it's a big project like a sweater. We want that to pay off. And taking that time up front to swatch is a way that you can have that assurance. And I don't want you to avoid making things like sweaters because you're afraid of the swatching process. And you can build up to the swatching process. Did you know, really think about this? Making a scarf can be a swatch all on its own. Just you've got a set of stitches you're going to do, and you're just going to go. And the beautiful thing is, even inside your scarf, if you're doing something kind of basic with your scarf and you're just making a long rectangle, it could become a design feature of your scarf to be changing your hook size. And it's going to make it come in and out. If you make use a bigger hook, in if you make use a smaller hook, and all of these things. And in a scarf, it can be part of the design element of it, and yet you still have a useful thing, which is really kind of fun. I want you to practice and I want you to explore. I want you to think about things that are inconsequential, finished items that you can make that allow you to learn and explore your yarns and your fabrics. And having all of that data as you learn helps you to overcome the frustrations, and it allows you to get creative and feel accomplished when you make something. I hope that helps. I hope that encourages you. Scarves and washcloths are some of my very favorite projects to make that are less consequential. If my washcloth doesn't come out exactly the way that I wanted it to, it's okay. I can still wipe up spills on the kitchen counter with it, and it's still a useful thing. But I'm also really okay with pulling things out and starting over. Some yarns don't tolerate that very well, some do. So you have to understand your yarn to do that as well. I appreciate you sticking with me on this though, and I hope that you're willing to give it a try. Ask me some questions in the comments of this video. I want to wrap this up by sharing a big announcement that I'm so excited about. I have been working on this. I tried building something on my website and it wasn't quite right. It was good, but not quite right. And I've been looking around for the just right thing. And what has happened is I have created a community on the platform called Skool, Skool. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, but I'm so excited about it. This is a space where you get to come in and ask questions. You get to get help. You're going to connect with other knitters and crocheters who also love to make things and are encouraging and want to be encouraging. I'm going to be teaching classes and doing stitch alongs, and there'll be more helpful tips in there. It's a really great platform where it's all in one hub, where there's a community and there's classes and all kinds of really great resources all brought in there, all without ads, which I happen to really like. So when you come in and you're in the community, and it's called the Stitchery Journey, and when you're in there, you're not getting bombarded with a bunch of information pulling you out to somewhere else. You get to stay focused on what we're doing in there. I'm really excited about that. So if you want to know more about that, we'd love to have you. This is a free community. You can go over to perfectlyknotty.com/community, and you can sign up to get your invitation to join. And I will put that down in the video description as well. And I hope you'll join me over there. I'm really excited about this. I can really see this is going to grow, and it's going to go some really great places that I think are going to really support and encourage you in your stitching journey. And that's why it's called Stitchery Journey. So I hope to see you over there. Thank you for joining me for this little mindset shift around swatching. I hope you give these things a try.